We're back, people, and today we're going to film on David Long, Miami Dolphins linebacker, and he continues to just play out of this world. Like, he plays like he's on fire. That's how aggressive he is, shooting downhill versus the run here, blitzing on this WAS, weak side A-gap simulated pressure. This is what David Long, he has a huge impact. I just love the energy out there that he brings, and him and Baker have just been doing so much better together. Like, I know there's that one clip of Pacheco getting a good block on Long, that was going around on Twitter, but if you look at this play, he makes Pacheco look absolutely silly. You can see some of the fluidity, the athleticism, setting this up, get that right stick in the ground, see this over the top. It gets like a club swim, and then it forces Mahomes to escape the pocket, and they end up, getting the sack from Phillips here. Technically, it was a no gain sack for Jalen Phillips on that play, but it's really just David Long winning his one-on-one matchup. He's just plays so aggressive right now, and he's been so much more consistent and disciplined versus the run, which is good, but still playing with his aggressive self. He's just not taking himself out of plays as much. I just think he can improve in coverage, but he's been a huge get, I think, for this team in free agency, and he's playing up to that contract for sure. Here to see Long versus the run here. Key some gap pulling, get downhill. Van Ginkel's the one who ends up making the tackle, but he also has a very nice play here. Like, he sees the down blocking, but he keys the pulling guard, so he understands, this is probably going to get put up right through here. He shoots downhill right away, takes a great angle, avoids Noah Gray. Like, basically, both guys are down blocking, and since he avoids the tight end so much, the tackle has to kind of peel back, so he takes away both blockers and is still in his gap, ready to make a play. Like, if Pacheco's kind of forced to bounce this outside, because Van Ginkel and him both won to the inside, and AVG, David Long, Ramsey, they're all there at the point of attack. Great job. I really like watching David Long play versus the run, because he is just processing things at such a high level, and he just goes right away. Here's another good example of David Long versus the run against the Chiefs. Again, working some more like inside zone type of action, but having this guy pull across and almost be like a lead into this, and he just, look at him read these plays, man. It's so insane to watch, because the first flow of all the steps here is to the right of the O-lineman, but he feels the tight end peeling back, and he's seeing the running back through to the mesh point too, and he's just flowing with this the whole time, just reading this to perfection, staying in phase with the running back, working through all this trash, avoiding O-lineman, and then makes a tackle on Pacheco for, gains a few yards. That's a really good job, stacking, tracking. He doesn't need to just shoot downhill, but he can, read the flow of the play pretty well too. I do think his coverage can improve, like playing as like a hook or a guy relating to the number 3. I do think he does a decent job here. It's 2nd and 17, and him just dropping into like that hook, relate to number 3, sees that 3's like working up behind him, but knowing the flow of like these plays, feel that this guy's going to break to the inside, get over, take away that throwing lane, while also leveraging this. If they do dump it off to Kelsey, you can get down and make this tackle. So he does a good job here. They end up throwing it to the opposite side, but it was a 2nd and 17 situation, and he put himself in a pretty good spot to take away that middle of the field throw. Another example, in coverage, this time just matching Kelsey here. I feel like he does a pretty good job. Like, his coverage was better, I think, at the Titans than it's been for the Dolphins so far, but he has shown some improvement in certain areas. You'll see where he made his big mistake later on in coverage. But this play here, just matching Kelsey as the number 2 receiver. Sometimes you got to do this as a linebacker in this system, depending on the play call. But able to match this, he is basically just running an option route, get to that outside. And David Long, if this is thrown, is actually in a really good spot to make a play on this. Then Mahomes has to escape. He's still in a spot to take away that throw to Kelsey underneath. And then, Mahomes runs. He kind of ran the whole game. I got to give a lot of credit to the guys that dropped on the coverage in this game, because Mahomes was scrambling a lot and not finding things down the field. Like, he usually scrambles and then makes crazy throws, but in this game he was just scrambling and actually just running because nothing was there for a majority of the game. David Long does it like in the box. He can do it when he's a little bit wider. He gets widened here, do the jet sweep, and he still just makes plays on space. Sometimes he just appears too when watching from, like, you'll see it as a play later, but sometimes he goes off screen from the end zone angle and then he just appears and makes a play. Try to block him out in space. He's gonna beat a wide receiver, get out there, and then just close, make a good open field tackle, square this guy up. Pacheco out in space. That's a really good technical tackle out in space. And sometimes you have to do this in this system especially when they're in base. And David Long showing out just ever since, like, I would say, like, week 4-ish to week 5, he's just hit different levels of play. And here's the touchdown. I do think I showed this in my defensive breakdown, and it was them running like a, one lurk, which usually means the linebackers are comboing the running back. So initially, since the running back's to the left, Baker's initially man-to-man, but since he breaks quickly to the inside, Baker thinks he now should be like the whole defender alert guy in the middle of the field. That's what Long was initially. Now Long should take him man-to-man. It's clearly a miscommunication, so it's, and he gets eyes on Kelsey, and I think he just gets a little taken out of the play. This is where I think he can improve in coverage, just having some lapse, and clearly he's like looking over like, oh, was like to Baker, like definitely something happened there. And I still think the off-ball linebacker unit is probably still the weakest on the team, because like the outside linebackers is a really good unit. The interior guys, I think with Wilkins and Sealer, really carry that unit. They could add some depth there for sure. The secondary is healthy and playing really well now when they're healthy. So I do think like that off-ball linebacker unit is still probably the weaker link, but they are playing better. Just need to still clean up some things for sure. Watching David Long play versus the run a lot of times is just so much fun. He just gets downhill. He does it in so many different ways. Sometimes he just shoots in the backfield, finds an open hole. Sometimes he bullies an offensive lineman. Sometimes he just, stacks and tracks, makes a smart play. And here he just keys this. He sees this hole open up, and he's ready to shoot downhill. He's like, oh, I'm going to take advantage of this because they're working a combo here. The center comes off a little late, and he's like, oh, I still got to, take this guy on the point. I can't just run. If he run into all this space, he's going to take himself out, and this gap's going to open up. So he just drops his shoulder into him and just bullies the center back into the play, and then him and their Steelers there to make a play. But that's just really good job. Keying, diagnosed, powerful at the point of attack, put the center on his back. That is some great stuff. I love just the energy. He has this energy that he's brought to this defense that I think has been really nice. And I know like the team has been talked about as like a finesse team. I don't really think that's the case. I think, sometimes their play calling on offense can make them seem a little finesse, and I think they can improve upon that. But I think players specifically, these guys have been pretty physical, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and they've had some cases where they played even some bully ball for sure. Last play that we're going to break down. This was the 2nd and 3. Expecting a run on the final drive of the game. They have 4 down defensive linemen. Long gets pulled out by the jet sweep, and look at him just come into frame. And this was huge because he holds them for 2 yards, and they end up stopping them on the 3rd down and getting the ball back. Obviously, the offense didn't score, but this is like what you want to see. Look, he sometimes just flies off. He just flies onto the screen. It's so funny because he's like making sure the jet sweep doesn't happen. He's not even playing like as a true up-ball linebacker, and then he just closes, get down, take out Pacheco's legs from underneath him as the defensive lineman meet him at the point of attack, hold them to a 3rd and 1 situation where they were able to stop them, because the Chiefs kind of struggle offensively on 3rd and short. For like that's like their biggest struggle right now, and that was a really, really big time play by Long. Love his aggressiveness, his competitive toughness, the energy he brings out there. I feel like he's become kind of a leader. He's also like pretty intelligent. Like intelligent as in like he processes things fast and gets downhill. Sometimes like he can take himself out of place, as we saw earlier in season, but he's got a lot better at that. He's shown the ability to stack and track, discipline, read plays, work through the trash type thing as well. He's been an amazing blitzer overall throughout the season. I think he can improve in coverage. He showed some improvement, but I still think there's definitely more to be desired in that area, and I think that's kind of where him and Baker could really take the next level, because I think Baker does a better job at man-to-man, but has still lacks some zone awareness, and then they're both playing better versus the run than they were, but Long's definitely like one of the better run-stopping linebackers in the league, and Baker's playing more disciplined, which I think is helping because Long is very aggressive. So overall, really looking forward to what this defense comes to, and I think after the bye, they get 5 quarterbacks that aren't that great, I think the defense is going to play a huge factor the second half of the season. So if you guys like the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and get peace.